Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome all participants for second session of STTP on Environment Engineering for Global Sustainability organized by Saraswati Institute of Technology, Kharghar. Now our session is going to be held on the topic of climate change and its severity, a concern for city of the Mumbai, by our speaker, Mr. S. Chakraborty sir. It's my pleasure to introduce our honorable speaker, Mr. Chakraborty sir. Sir is employed with University of Mumbai as an external examiner for MTech level. He is a researcher on coastal engineering and a consultant to work bank-aided ferry terminal projects on Brahmaputra River, Assam. Formerly, he was Chief of Infrastructure Division of Haldia Dock under Kolkata Port Trust and later worked in a few reputed consultancy and construction firms, totaling to having 40 plus years of experience in large marine civil work. He had BE in civil engineering from Indian Institute of Engineering, Science and Technology under the University of Calcutta in 1978. He completed MTech from IIT Kharagpur in 1981 and Masters of Engineering from International Institute of Infrastructure, Hydraulic and Environmental Engineering from Delft, Netherlands in 1999. He is a fellow of Institution of Engineers and life member of Bank Belgium. He has been submitted PhD thesis entitled with the sea level rise due to climate change and its impact along the coast of Mumbai to the Assam Royal Global University, Guwahati. He has published 8 international and 6 national journals. He reviewed many papers in international conferences at Australia and in journals from USA. He has authored a book on sea level rise, which is a narrative anthology on various aspects of sea level rise. In today's presentation, he intends to create awareness amongst the participants on the severity of climate change with the focus of the city of the Mumbai. Now I would like to invite our today's speaker, Mr. Chakraborty sir, and hand over this session to the sir. Sir, please. Hello, sir. Sir, please unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, everybody. Is climate change and its severity a concern for city of Mumbai? As we all know, we have been noticing changes in the climate for the last few decades. One of the basic reasons for that is global warming due to the greenhouse gases. The basic idea of climate, how it happened is depending on the rotation of Earth around the sun. The Earth is rotating around the sun in an elliptical path, and also it is rotating around its own center. So whenever there is an exposure of sun rays, this part we feel hot and the other part is we feel cold. This is the basic concept regarding warming and coldness felt in various parts of the earth. There is a concept called Coriolis force. Because the earth rotates on its axis, circulating the air is deflected towards the right in the northern hemisphere and towards the left in the southern hemisphere. So that Coriolis effect is basically the first concept on climate change and on the occasion of climate. Now, when we talk of climate change, what is the definition of climate change? According to NASA, it is a broad range of global phenomena created predominantly by burning fossil fuels, which add heat-trapping gases to Earth's atmosphere. These phenomena include the increased temperature trends described by global warming, but also encompass changes such as sea level rise, ice mass loss in Greenland, Antarctica, the Arctic, and mountain glaciers worldwide, shifts in flower, plant blooming, and extreme weather events. There is a difference between climate change and global warming. Global warming is a part of the climate change. It is explained that global warming is just one aspect of climate change. In fact, global warming refers to the rise in global temperatures due mainly to the increasing concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. On the other hand, climate change refers to the increasing changes in the measures of climate over a long period of time, including precipitation, rainfall, temperature, and wind patterns, etc. Global warming refers only to the Earth's rising surface temperature, while climate change includes warming and the side effects of warming like melting of glaciers, heavier rainstorms, or more frequent drought. Ultimately, this means that global warming is one side of the large problem of human-caused climate change. I will invite your attention to a few news clippings which came across recently. This is something what happened in the month of May this year. Simla has been hit a 40-year high with around 4 degrees centigrade in March since 1979 and at record high level this year in the city. This is something in Washington. The US is roasting in heat wave. Texas record breaking 115 degrees. New Jersey 102 degrees. Here it is Fahrenheit. And UK records its hottest ever temperature with 40.3 degrees centigrade. These newses came in July, May, and few days back only, 25th July. So this is the general scenario of the warming. Now there is a difference between the climate and weather. People call that if climate is your health, weather is the mood. And what is happening because of the climate change? There is a global warming, temperature is rising from before, since industrial revolution, and as an effect, the glaciers are melting. So what is happening? The left hand, this picture shows that the polar bears are at risk because of the melting of the glaciers. Drought is happening. And if you remember, variety of insects are coming from various places and taking away our crops. In my book, I have written about this important and inevitable challenge the global humankind is going to face. Basically, there is an acute concern on the global warming due to anthropogenic causes. Anthropogenic means human-induced causes, and the cascading effect on melting of ice shelves at Arctic genus results to sea level rise. This is another effect of climate change, that sea level is rising, and globally the sea level is rising in a profuse manner. There is a forecast that by the year 2100, 1 meter rise in global water level will happen. So 1 meter rise means a serious issue. Presently, the rate of rise of sea level is in the order of 3.1 millimeter per year. But if the temperature rises beyond 1.5 degrees centigrade to 2 degrees centigrade, the rise can even be more. Now, regarding this anthropogenic cause of having this global warming and sea level rise, I invite the attention of what Stephen Hawking said about it. Stephen Hawking argued that humans are diminishing the Earth's resources far faster than nature or technology could possibly replace them. One example is fossil fuel. He has blamed the human greed and stupidity for the impending climate disaster. He mentioned that as per the prevailing rate of population growth, human population on the earth will be 11 billion by 2100. The best hope for survival of the human race might be independent colonies in space. Climate change is one of the greatest danger we are facing, and it's one we can prevent if we act now. What is greenhouse effect? Greenhouse gases slow the escape of infrared radiation to outer space because the sun rays are reflected from Earth's surface that is being reduced because of the greenhouse gases. The greenhouse effects makes life on Earth possible. If it did not exist, most of the planet would be covered in ice. Greenhouse gas is required, but greenhouse gases include carbon dioxide, ozone, nitrous oxide, ammonia, etc. Fluctuations in greenhouse gas concentration as observed in ice cores. Greenhouse gases change naturally over many centuries and sometimes quickly after a large volcano eruption. Since 1850, humans have added a lot of greenhouse gases. Now, because of this greenhouse gas and the rise in temperature, the oceans are absorbing the heat, which is affecting the sea level. The sea water, the ocean volume is expanding, and it transport heat over large distances. It affects the local weather and storm activity. It absorbs and releases huge quantities of carbon dioxide. Heat absorbed by ocean. One record I will show in the year 2019, the ocean temperature was 0.135 degrees Fahrenheit, higher than the average between 1981 and 2010. Now it is increasing little more also. That means that the ocean, which absorbs almost all of the greenhouse gases humans put into the atmosphere, has taken in this much joules of heat. It is 228 sextillion, 228 into 10 to the power 21. So to compare how much heat is absorbed in the sea, we can just understand by comparing it with the heat and energy released by the Hiroshima atom bomb explosion. That was only 63 into 10 to the power 12 joules, whereas the present condition in 2019, the total amount of heat energy was 228 into 10 to the power 21 joules. The condition is very serious. Now, oceans are part of the Earth system itself. When the ocean water is heated, it absorbs and releases heat. It affects the sea level because the ocean water expands. It transports heat over large distances. It affects the local weather and storm activity also. This is a general picture what happens in the rainy season at Mumbai. So what will happen if the sea level rises? The water will come inside the city. So we have to be very cautious about it. Certain scenarios which are very common in Mumbai during rainy season are waterlogging in the roads, waterlogging in large part of the city. This is a picture from the month of May in 2021 when the very strong storm Taukte came here and hit gateway of India. 17th May, Taukte has hit. Fortunately, the landfall happened in Gujarat. Otherwise, scenario would have been much worse. Now, regarding these climate change scenarios, the international body Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change (IPCC) has considered various scenarios because future is very uncertain. We're not sure how much the technology will grow, what kind of technology people will adopt, how much the population will grow, whether temperature rise will be a constant phenomenon or there can be variations, or how the temperature will rise in future till 2050, till in the next decades, 2030, 2040, till 2100 and beyond this century. There had been certain forecasts. IPCC had their report, assessment report 4. From there, considering a scenario when there is a rapid growth in economy and effective technology, the global mean warming will be in the order of 1.75 degrees centigrade during this period of 2046 to 2065. If there is only rapid growth of population and not much of development in technology, the temperature may be in the order of 1.65 degrees centigrade. And if in this scenario, when convergence throughout the world with same population, suppose the population is remaining constant, but there is a reduction in carbon and change in technology, it may be in the order of 1.29 degrees centigrade. In this subject, there are various institutions of Government of India, the technological institutes in our country, IITs, Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology. People are continuously studying and doing research on how much water can rise, particularly if we focus on Bombay. Now, I also took an interest and studied on this subject, and the inundation map for Mumbai city I got in this order. For a rise of 2 feet of water from the present level of, say, today it is 2022. I took a reference of 2020, and which has been compared with the results obtained from climatecentral.org and NASA and COFU. COFU is Coastal Future, is a software developed by Professor Rana Singhe in IIT Delft. There are certain uncertainties about the melting of glaciers. If you go to internet, if you are alert about the news is coming in Google, every day you will find a different picture of how the glaciers are melting. Already about 8,000 gigaton of water has melted into the ocean, and that huge volume, you can understand, is increasing the level of the sea throughout the world. Now, depending on the coastal morphology, the geographical configurations, the geometrical aspects, the bed slope of the shore, the kind of wind effect, wave height, etc., the sea level rise in different places will be different because of this rise in the water level. Actually, the rise of sea level in various coastal cities will depend on carbon concentration and emission scenario. So there are efforts to control the emission scenario. The present rate of emission from pollution from the cars, vehicles, from power plants, from cement factories, we are all trying to control those things. We are trying to reduce the use of fossil fuel. And according to one projection, this much part of area in the Mumbai city will be underwater in 2050, which we never want because Mumbai is one of the very important city in our country. I'm just presenting something what I obtained from the research we have done by using a particular software. When we find that at least a rise of 0.600 meter, that is around 2 feet, will happen from 2020 to 2050. There had been several discussions and agreements between various countries throughout the world, and Paris Agreement was held in 2015. Paris Agreement decided that all the participating nations will agree to reduce the rise in warming and will restrict that rise up to 1.5 degrees centigrade only. Now, because of this global warming, the world is going to face a threat, and some species will also be extinct, which is not desirable. Now, the question is, like Netherlands has built dikes around their country, throughout the country, they have engulfed it with dikes, and it is in minus level, below mean sea level. The country itself is mean sea level. They do continuous pumping, but it is one of the very developed nation, and they're having a lot of research facilities, and they're very pioneer in various research activities related to anything related to water, whether it is general hydraulic engineering, whether it is what are related to public consumption, whether it is port engineering, harbor engineering. Netherlands is very famous. But the question is, if water rises, will it be possible to make a very high dam to protect the countries to prevent water entering from North Sea? Is it feasible? It is not feasible basically. Then what will happen to the island countries? There are various island countries like Maldives, Tuvalu. What will happen to those people when the water will rise? If there is a forecast of water rise up to 1 meter, then maybe many cities around the world are going to be drowned actually. There are reports from Plymouth, there are reports from New York, there are reports that part of Mumbai, part of Cochin, part of Calcutta will be inundated in 2050. Now, what will happen to save the people? There are 300 million people in India will be affected because of sea level rise. Whether migration is feasible solution to millions of people? Can we shift those people from to a safer place? Now, the reasons for this kind of climate change and the global warming has been contributed by from catastrophic bushfires. Well, could we avoid it? These are the questions whether human civilization itself is responsible for this climate change and whether we can go back to some extent such that the change of climate can be controlled. Some facts of concern I would like to highlight before you. 12,000 square kilometer of area of Bangladesh may go underwater by 2050. As I told, the condition of islands like Maldives, Kirimati, Tuvalu will even be more dreadful because they will have no place to go. The Malibu beach at California, where the richest people in the world, the Hollywood stars are living in sprawling bungalow, will also be under threat. It's a global threat. It's a threat throughout all the coastal cities in the world, and Mumbai is not an exception for that. It is the greatest challenge in post-COVID situation and reveals a query: how should our grandchildren feel about us? Our next generation will blame us that we have made this situation and we have made this sea level rise, we have made this global warming. These beautiful species, these are from the area of polar region. There are forecasts that these species will be extinct by 2050. This yellow part, they are having only 250 such species presently living. Mumbai is a big city. It is the financial capital of our country. It is the headquarter of business. It is a film city. It is city of dreams. It is a city of Ambani, Sachin Tendulkar to Amitabh Bachchan. Mumbai is home to legends and also for you and me. Many people throughout the country come to Mumbai for a job. And that is the reason the price of land in Mumbai is very high. The price of a flat in Mumbai is very high. But Mumbai is expanding. You see, this is the picture of the coastal roadways project. As per history, 300 years ago, was not like this. It was a conglomeration of few islands. And these parts have been reclaimed from the sea. In 16th century, when the Portuguese came to the city, it was a collection of islands. British took over in 1661 and reimagined Mumbai as a contiguous landmass and created a peninsula by filling the land gaps. So reclamation was done, and that is one of the reasons that the circulation of water, what used to happen through these gaps, the black parts, has stopped. Our concern is, in certain research paper, I have found that out of 136 coastal cities around the world, Mumbai is at second most risk to climate-induced sea level rise and extreme weather events. If you follow, you can see that extreme weather events are happening very frequently. A large chunk of ice in Canada was found missing. 2 years back. In West Indies, there had been tornadoes. In our eastern coast, we had storms like Amphan, Fani. In Mumbai, Gujarat, we had Taukte. So these extreme weather events are continuously happening within a very frequent interval, and which is having a lot of disasters in cities amongst the population. The impact of uncertainty on economic damage due to sea level rise for 136 major coastal cities was compared by probability distribution considering some stochastic model of expected damage and risk calculation for two scenarios. One scenario was for relative sea level projections, the damage under the assumption of no adoption. When you have a sea level rise, there can be two, three aspects of tackling or facing the scenario. One is protection. If you can protect the rise of the sea level by making high walls, dams, this is one approach of protection. Another is adaptation, that you adapt that certain part of sea level will rise and water will come into your city, but you find out a way to distribute that water in various lowlands, and if you can remove people from those places. So this is one part that is called adaptation with this sea level rise, and every country will finally have to adapt only because they cannot protect. The other one is high-end scenario, which incorporates that additional ice sheet melting is there. So the additional meltwater which is coming from the glaciers will also add to the sea level rise. So considering these two scenarios, in the research paper I have given the reference here by Abadi et al. That one city, Guangzhou in China, tops the list, and Mumbai is second. New Orleans in USA was third. This is one of the study report. Now, how to tackle this sea level rise? What can we do? Whether we will all be drowned, whether we will move from the places, we will go to hills, or we will try to tackle this climate change scenario and the effective sea level rise. There are concepts like accelerated emission scenario. If you continue the fuel as fossil fuels, petrol, that is, the greenhouse gases will accelerate. The emission scenario will be accelerated. One is called as business as usual scenario, that whatever is going on, let it go on. But the Paris Agreement did not want that. Even the next conglomeration of different nations at Glasgow in 2021, people agreed to control the rise of temperature. So there are three scenarios to be predominantly talking about. One is business as usual scenario, another is accelerated emission scenario, another is low emission scenario. That is our target. For low emission scenario only, we can protect our countries in future. NASA has developed a sea level prediction tool which predicts a similar threat for Mumbai with risk of being submerged by 2050. According to one source, the projections of how much sea level will rise and how much submergence will happen to different cities as obtained from NASA are like this. In Chennai, there is a possibility that 1.87 feet of water level will be there. In Mumbai, it will be 1.90 feet. In Calcutta, it will be 0.49 feet. In Mangalore, Cochin, Visakhapatnam, Tuticorin, Chennai, Okha, Kandla, Bhavnagar, Paradip, these are the data available from NASA. These are the projections based on the current trends. But there is no guarantee that the current trend will continue. It will continue in a better manner or in a worse manner. Because of the rise in sea level, some critical properties and road networks in Mumbai, Kochi, Mangalore, Chennai, Visakhapatnam, and Thiruvananthapuram will be drowned by 2050. In the city of Mumbai itself, there are forecasts that the important Installations, monuments like Haji Ali Dargah and part of Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust, Western Express Highway, Bandra Urli Ceiling, and Queen's Necklace on Marine Drive are the key infrastructures of Mumbai that are at risk of submergence. Imagine that the Queen's Necklace on Marine Drive is going to be submerged, and we are not far away. Government is also proactive, ministry is proactive, everybody is thinking how to go ahead, and that is why variety of concepts are coming, like electric cars are becoming popular, and we are trying to reduce the use of fossil fuel. Now plantation is another issue, but plantation alone cannot stop the rise in temperature. Mumbai is our city. The city never sleeps. It's famous for the center of excellence of creative arts, music, the Bollywood, the distinctive Bada Pav, Belpuri, Sevpuri, a city of multimillionaires at Orly, Bandra to Asia's largest suburban slums at Masjid, Dharavi, the congested habitation at Andheri, to sprawling, well-decorated Palava and the well-planned Khargar to Jhopadis, Chawl and skyscrapers till Panvel. There is no end to Mumbai. And Mumbai is continuously growing and it will grow. Mumbai is the loveliest city in India. It's a city of dreams where visions are fulfilled. From super crowded local trains, jam-packed platforms to Six Sigma awardee Dabbawalas, Mumbai is unique. According to research, some data I will share with you for Mumbai, Chennai, and Kochi. By 2050, the scenario will be like this, that around 998 buildings and 24-kilometer road length will be affected. Around 2,490 buildings and a road length of 126 kilometers will be affected by potential sea level rise during the high tide in the city. In Chennai, a road length of 5 kilometers and 55 buildings are at risk. Kochi, around 464 buildings are likely to be impacted, with the number rising to around 1,500 buildings during high tide. Studies are going on in various cities. You can have various statistics. The worldwide scenarios are extreme. Some of the pictures we saw in the Calcutta zone, the Sundarbans and the Bangladesh will be inundated like this. This is a picture from climatecentral.org. I took it from indiatimes.com. Even New York City is under threat. This is a symbolic picture that the Statue of Liberty also can be drowned if that much of water level can rise. If all the ices available in Greenland, Antarctica, Arctic Ocean, if all the ices melt, what is going to happen? In UK at Plymouth, this is one of the scenario expected. In USA, Miami Beach, this is one of the scenario expected. There is no denial of climate danger. In one of the data I found from research papers, that the highest rise in water level can be up to 2 meters till 2100. So by the end of the century, the scenarios are going to change, and we are now at 2022. So by the year 2050 itself, there will be some rise. Whatever you might control in various countries, the temperature you may control, but even then, whatever already has happened, that you may not be able to save all the people. So it's a matter of serious concern. So this is my primary message to all of the participants here, that global warming, climate change, sea level rise is a concern for Mumbai. There are some controversies and uncertainties. I have gone through at least a few thousand of research papers on this subject. There is a variety of subjects involved in this study. It does not include hydraulic engineering only. It includes geology, geomorphology, oceanography, glaciology, thermodynamics. Variety of subjects are involved, and the reflection of sunlight, the possibility of reflection of sunlight through geoengineering, many things are being discussed, and everything is little uncertain. The main uncertainty is that how quickly and how much these marine ice cliffs will melt. There are marine ice cliffs. What happens when there are two types of identity of the ice bodies? One can be marine ice sheet, and there are in some places there are ice cliffs. What is going to happen when the water in the sea is expanding? It is warm. The warm water is hitting at the bottom of this ice mass. Then it will help that ice to melt. So the stability of this ice cliff and the ice sheets will be disturbed. So depending on that how quickly the ice will melt and how fast it will melt or how much it will melt is the main factor to a major contribution to the sea level rise. There are various methods of research, like there are data-based algorithms, past history, there are statistical methods, there are forecasts based on the climate science softwares like CMIP5, CMIP6, but the upper projection windows for sea level rise projections are not uniform across different studies. Very often we have seen that future sea level rise remains deeply uncertain in reality. Although by calculation with the world's best state-of-the-art softwares, we find that at least 2 feet water rise will be there in Mumbai. But still, we are not very certain whether it will be only 2 feet or it will be 4 feet. Because if you add the wave heights, the surges of the waves can go up to 5 meter. So imagine a condition during rainy season. If something happens like 2005, what happened in the July 26th. If there is a heavy rainfall and there is a high tide and there is a sea level rise, imagine that a larger area of Mumbai is going to be inundated and no human force is there to possibly tackle that havoc. The projections of sea level rise from individual studies varies from one another and rather generally found higher than the upper projections assessed by IPCC. IPCC is the United Nations body, intergovernmental panel for climate change. There are a lot of researches and lot of conglomeration of researches, and the findings are taken together and they have published assessment report 4, assessment report 5, and last year in 2021 they have published assessment report 6. But nothing actually matched the what was forecast by the scientists. It has always become higher than what was projected by the scientific papers. This is something how much the water can rise. I'm going back, sorry. In Greenland, what happened between last month's figure, July 15 and July 17, is the latest massive melting event contributing to an increase in the global sea level. The amount of water from the melt, about 6 billion tons a day, or 18 billion tons over the weekend, is enough to cover West Virginia in a foot of water 4 inches per day roughly. This is an information taken from the University of Colorado's Earth Science and Observation Center. This news is from 23rd July, so only few days back. According to the forecast, the places that might partly disappear because of global warming are these cities. Some of the names are only there: Jakarta in Indonesia, New York in USA, Miami, Dhaka, Venice, Bangkok, Lagos, Rotterdam, Kolkata, and also Mumbai. Extreme weather events. Frequent recurrence of storms, cyclones, hurricanes, for example, Barda, Vayu, Oki, Cristobal, Bulbul, Fani, Fan, Amphan. Nisarga, Taute are to name a few. Along with these, havocs like the bushfires in Amazon, Australia, California are equally devastating and contributed to huge environmental damage, including loss of greeneries and animal lives. Believe it or not, we are in danger and threat. So my appeal is to control the warming as far as possible. This is another concern that these beautiful animals, the penguins, with a global temperature increase of only 1.5 degrees Celsius under the best case scenario, the population of emperor penguins, the large size penguins, will decrease by at least 31% in the next 3 generations, according to British Antarctic Survey. We should not allow all this to happen. Polar bear are lacking their food, so they are eating their own children. This is the kind of pollution we still have from the ships. The message is the climate change and its effects on sea level rise around all coastal cities warrants to control flood vulnerability index. The presentation is an attempt on making people aware of the causes and effects on climate change. What we can do, or at all we can do anything or not? Can we stop extinction of some species? Whether we will adopt or mitigate the situation? How we can reduce carbon footprint? What are the uncertainties? And finally, what can happen to our own city, the city of dreams, the city of islands? Is Amchi Mumbai ready to face the expected trauma? In my book, I have raised these questions and have sought to create awareness to mitigate this imminent, unavoidable catastrophe of our time. As per satellite altimeter data, Greenland is losing mass at a rate of 283 gigatons per year, and Antarctica is losing at 145 gigatons per year, respectively. You can imagine 1 gigaton means 1 billion metric tons of water, which is enough to fill 4 lakh Olympic sized swimming pools. The huge quantity of water is being contributed to the oceans, and obviously the sea levels will rise. And by now, as I said, that about 5,000 gigatons of ice have already melted, which has already raised the sea level around the world. Is there any solution to this? Nothing is in your hand or my hand, because every day we are having our daily life. Whatever we do, we are not aware whether we are contributing to the global warming or not. But actually, we are contributing to our various machines, like the pollution from industry, the pollution from cars, use of refrigerators, other gadgets. We are contributing to global warming. Some sort of solution has been thought for by the scientists. One is known as solar geoengineering. Geoengineering has got two parts. One is solar geoengineering and another is removal of carbon dioxide. The latest concept is that the surface albedo, that means the reflection of the sun rays from the earth, if that can be varied, then the temperature can be moderated. If we can reflect more sunlight back to space, then perhaps we can have a cooler world, so the warming will reduce. The latest research from MIT, the scientists are talking of space bubbles, which will deflect the solar radiation using thin film inflatable bubble wraps. So that is a possibility. It is now just at the beginning stage of research. How those solar bubbles, the space bubbles will be created, how that will be spread around the stratosphere. This has to be thought for. There are some thoughts to protect the warm water to hit the bottom of the glaciers. People have thought for making some protection wall like breakwaters in sea, which will protect the warm water to hit the glacier such that the glacier doesn't melt. But these are all very hypothetical imagination, because These are all very huge, costly projects and very difficult to perform. Before that, if all government nations can take the kind of oath and take serious actions to reduce the greenhouse gases, to reduce the temperature rise, that will be more effective. That is our concern. Now, what can we do? It's my appeal, my wild thoughts that we can create some kind of a climate consciousness club. Let us reuse, recycle, and reduce the waste. Whatever waste materials we form from our civilization, the garbages, they contribute to greenhouse gases like methane. Let us walk. Let us use bike or run or skate. Move yourself. Get out of the car. If you don't run your car, you are using less petrol, fossil fuel, and then you are reducing the pollution. Let's go to office by bus or carpool. Let us make a commitment to use public transportation at least once a week. Plant a tree. Canopy trees have this effect. The palm trees do not. But only planting trees will not solve the issue because there are other factors which prevent cooling. Still, planting tree is required. Use less heat and air conditioning. Setting your thermostat just 2 degrees lower in winter and higher in summer could save about 2,000 pounds of carbon dioxide each year. Change your light bulb with compact fluorescent light CFL bulbs. If every US family replaced one regular light bulb with a CFL, it would eliminate 90 billion pounds of greenhouse gases, the same as taking 7.5 million cars off the road. Buy a fuel efficient car or hybrid vehicle. Electric cars are coming, but you have seen that the cost of the electric cars are not very cheap. Let us buy local goods and products as the transportation requirement will reduce and the amount of carbon dioxide will reduce. Inflate your tires, keep the tires on your car adequately inflated, check them monthly, save 250 pounds of carbon dioxide and 850 dollars per year. The AC's filter should be cleaned and replaced. That way also we can save $150 per year. This is one message by some activist who is holding a banner reading Save Mumbai, Stop Climate Change. We never want this beautiful place near the gateway of India to be flooded. We never want our monument, gateway of India, from where Swami Vivekananda moved to USA, be inundated. So these are the message and the concern for consciousness about climate change and its effect on our city of Mumbai. With this, I come to the concluding part of the series of slides. Let's think whether to sink or to swim or to drown. This caption I have taken from a paper. The reference is given here. The digital object identification number is there. Anybody can click and read this paper. The question is, what should we do? Should we sink or we swim or we drown? So this is, by this I come to the concluding my presentation, and now I will ask the audience if you have any questions. We can discuss together to find out if we have any solution.
Thank you so much, sir. So now we go for the question answer session, okay? I got many appreciations message from the chat box. Nice information about the ice sheet from the Professor Abhijit Kamte. Nice sessions from the many of the peoples. One question is coming from the Vijay Mane sir. Which software is used for the analysis or to check the climate change. Hello, sir.
Actually, climate science is a different subject. The present software code name is CMIP6, that is used by Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology Pune. Dr. Roxy Matthew Call in IITM Pune is aware about that. CMIP6 is a model for climate,
Okay.
and the softwares for studying the hydraulic effects from climate change, to name a few, is one I have used is Mike 21, that is from Danish Hydraulic Institute. There is a software known as Swan, that's the Japanese software. Mike 21 uses finite volume method. This one has another kind of a numerical approach, and there are quite a good number of software depending on what is the output we want from that particular software. If we want a particular temperature, that is something. If we want a particular sea level rise at a particular coordinate at a particular place, it is different. There are a lot of research in Willis Library and AC journals. If you look into, you can find more about these things.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Next question is coming from the Professor Mayuresh sir. Okay. Aryan from Aryan Ranjane. Uh, Illiteracy regarding Mumbai city, especially illiteracy of people, is the main responsible factor for global warming.
No, global warming is happening as a phenomenon throughout the world. It has got nothing to do with whether you are literate or illiterate. Only thing, you have to be conscious that you should not contribute to the warming. That consciousness, to some extent, we all are lacking. Whether it has got nothing to do with literacy or illiteracy. Obviously, in the winter, if you find that some people are burning some rubber tires on the road, that is not good. That is not good. If you find somebody smoking a cigarette, you can tell him that not only you are poisoning your own health, you are contributing to the global warming also. You are giving a poisonous gas. So these are some kind of small tidbits which can be seen, but it's not that fair to call that illiteracy or literacy, because it's a huge phenomenon and happening because of the global and earthly affairs, which is not beyond the control of you and me. The sun and the earth's motion and all these things are important to be understood. I don't think it has a relation with illiteracy itself, but of course, people should use some kind of healthy habits such that we should not contribute and poison the atmosphere.
Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for the question answer. And it's a big concern that just I heard in your presentation that Mumbai is the second most at the risk of the climate extreme weather events. Second
That is
most.
one of the in one of the paper it has come as second most. In other paper, if you really compare various cities, the grade, the position may change. It can be fourth or third, or it doesn't matter, because there have been studies on Osaka,
Mm-hmm.
Japan. There have been studies on New York. To on particularly on Mumbai, I think there should be a dedicated force and government, the municipal corporation of Mumbai. All people are those who are at the helm of affairs are thinking on this. There are some newses that some of the um,
Mm-hmm.
important offices can move to Nagpur, and we have
Okay.
to really think of how that beautiful place of Nariman Point and
Mm.
Gateway of India can be saved. Just imagine a condition, something
Right.
like Venice, one
Right.
gondola is entering the Taj Hotel. That will not be a nice scenario.
Right. 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 Actually, after 4 5 number is also the risk number, not that much good.
Yeah, it will be
Yes.
in the top position because
Top
Mumbai is a
position.
long
Yes.
seashore, and all like all coastal cities, it is under danger. That is the message. Because I am not a climate
Yes.
expert. I am basically a civil engineer and a hydraulic engineer and coastal engineer with some experience in structures and marine systems. But climate science itself is a very difficult
Yes.
subject. It is something not related to mathematics. There are various unknown factors, and
Yes.
it is still under research.
And this is a important thing for the, I think, for all industrialist peoples and faculty members and student also to understand that these phenomena currently.
Yeah, in this aspect, just one idea came to my mind. I
Yes.
would request the students of the engineering colleges to make something like climate consciousness club. If
Oh,
people gradually gather information and do some kind of a workshop seminar or
mhm.
some that will spread the message that we are in danger and we should save
Yes,
our climate. We should
yes,
reduce the global warming.
yes,
So
yes,
far, so
definitely,
far
sir.
as present statistics is concerned, India is not at that bad position. Actually, Paris Agreement wanted to control the rise of temperature within 1.5 degrees centigrade
Mm.
in various countries. Whatever actions are going on, like one example, I will say this Ukraine war. The
Yes,
Ukraine war was not expected, but you see, every bomb cell must have contributed to bad gases quite a
yeah,
lot, and research has to be there to measure those things. So this was not known to us even in 2020 when we have been struggling with COVID. So
right,
something like that can many international political scenarios, the business scenarios, a lot of things can change. But the idea is that if we can reduce, let us try. And so far as present projection goes, if you see Ministry of Earth Sciences reports, etc., we are still hoping to be within 2 degrees centigrade. We're not
yeah,
going to 3 degrees centigrade. So
right,
that way, India government's efforts, Indian scientists' efforts, and population, people's effort are already at par with some optimistic stage. But
right,
still, we have to be more conscious.
right, right, definitely, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable knowledge and time with us.
Okay, thank you. I also convey my acknowledgement to the Saraswati
Yes,
Institute of Technology authorities and to you also for coordinating with me and giving me this option and the scope for saying something before the August audience, because it consists of faculties and students both. There
yes,
are learning people, and my main notion is just to
aware,
make people aware,
aware, right,
and to raise the concern. That's why the topic's name I took, a concern for the city of Mumbai.
right,
But water
definitely.
is rising every day. Water is rising.
Yes, yes.
That we
We
have
have to
really,
save our Amchi Mumbai, right?
yeah.
Thank
Something.
you so much. So, participant, here we end up the day of the fourth day of STTP second session. Feedback form of this session will be provided on your WhatsApp group. And join us tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. for the last day of the STTP fifth day. So, we can join tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. sharply. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.